Hello and welcome to another video. Now, I don't often, I think I've done it once in another video, talk about my own running. I'm not because I don't want to, but I've always tried to look at the channel as a way to help fellow runners. So today's video is going to be about a run, of making this video I did yesterday, which was the Brighton Marathon in 2020. And I just want to kind of give some background as to why I did that run, what I got from it, and hopefully by doing that, help any would-be runners get the best from their marathon runs, and particularly on race day. This is something I'd be really, really coming to. I think this would benefit any runner, but I suppose because of my age of being 58, I suppose some of what I'm going to share will probably suit the older runner. Not exclusively, but probably more likely. Before I start, if you like the channel and you like the video, please give us a like. It helps with the YouTube algorithm. And if you want to listen to more or watch more of my videos, then please subscribe. I always do that at the end, so I thought I'd change it up and do something at the beginning this time. So as I say, I did the Brighton Marathon in, it's be 2022, depending on when you're watching this video. And I run 3:28. My PB for the distance is, I think, 3:24. And I set that 10 years ago when I was 47. Now I'm going to come to PBs a little bit later in this video, and I'm going to make some really important points, I think, about PBs and how you could think about them. I had a lot of insights this weekend, not just from my running, but from other runners that really got me thinking around PB. So I'm going to come to that part in a moment. But I just wanted to share the background to this run. I hadn't done a marathon, obviously, throughout the pandemic. And I did a marathon in September 2021, the Berlin Marathon. And I trained really, really well for it. But something I hadn't really taken into consideration when I did the Berlin Marathon was race readiness. So in the respect that, think of it like a boxer that's been in a training camp for a long time, that hasn't had any proper fights for a little while. They say they're really rusty. And when I did the Berlin Marathon, with hindsight, I was like a released animal into the running world again, and I did all the things that I shouldn't do. I didn't take into consideration the heat. It was very hot that day, freakishly hot for a September. And I went off too fast. I had no confidence in my running. And one of the weird things you often see with marathon or long distance runners generally is if they haven't got confidence, they sort of try and make up the time early on in the race. They sort of think, well, I can carry on. I can hang in there. And invariably what happened was I slowed hideously in the last 6 miles. And also my fueling and my whole prep wasn't quite right. It ended up with me feeling really ill at the end. The guy I was in Berlin with, a friend of mine, got a paramedic, and I ended up having 3 liters of IV fluids pumped into me. So, not my most magnificent run. I still managed, I think, 3:42, but it's not the way to go. So why I share that is that's what I've been waking up to every day since in my brain. How could I put that to rest? And what had to change? And I spoke to my coach. My coach is Liam Butterworth, the company I work with as a coach as well. And I made an assessment of my run and what I thought went wrong. And he said, you're not wrong. So this is the thing. We really didn't change the training that much because there'd been nothing wrong with the training. And this is what I'm trying to make clear, is that there's a big difference between you getting your training right and getting your race right, or your training right and your race wrong. And your training is training for the race. But like using the boxer analogy, You can get all your moves, all your conditioning, all the, know your opponent, blah, de, blah, de, blah. But it's not the same as being in the ring. And I think a lot of runners at the moment, coming back from the pandemic, are facing this scenario. It's not much you can do to get around it, except to be aware of it, this race readiness that, if you've never done a run before, then, you're starting from the start. But even if you've run marathons, half marathons, and you've done them in the past, be aware that, particularly if you've been held back like most people with the pandemic, you might not have this race readiness. And so with my training, it was just a case of really continuing that block, but then looking at what I needed to do differently in this run. So what came from that was these scenarios, these thoughts. The difference, as I've just mentioned, the difference between being race ready and training ready. So I knew you can never really replicate a race in your training. And in a lot of ways, nor should you try. You shouldn't be going out at those kind of paces and intensities every day. As I've often said in many of my videos, training is building up your endurance and your ability to perform on the day. So that was the first thing. But when I sort of looked at my strategy, it was really a case of role reversal, looking at what happened in Berlin and then looking at what needed to change. It was almost reversal round. So I looked at the fact that I had a little confidence in my running at that point, though I'd done the training. I think I was nervous on the day of the race. So I knew I had to go off in a lot more steadier fashion. Now, this doesn't mean you have to go off slow, but I knew I had a target pace. It wasn't a PB pace, which I say I will come to in a moment. But so I said about a 7:50 pace. But I started my run for the first 3 miles. I actually had it on my watch to come up that I was going to run between 8 and 8:15. Now, if I did that all the way, no, but I was aware of it. And I was aware when I was picking up to, 7:50, I wasn't panicking, but, I allowed myself to know. And this is the thing in my mind, that I was running fast enough and I could slow down. So I did that. I slowed down. And once I'd got that first 3 miles out the way, what I'd set up on my watch, and I'm not saying this is the way, it's a way. It suited me because I really have quite good recovery from running. So I actually did something, keep my mind focused. So what I was doing was a mile at the faster pace. So I could do 7:50. I put a scale between 7:50 and 8-minute miles, but I also enabled myself to have a rest or a slower mile afterwards if I wanted to. Now, I didn't always take this, but sometimes I did. So I took a rest mile where it might be more to 8-minute miles. Now, I knew this would average out just over about 7.5-minute miling. And that's the way it did. If you look at my miles, that's what it averaged out at. But it gave me flexibility and it gave me something to think about each mile and check in with myself where I was. Now, of course, as I got more into my race, doing the faster miles was harder and doing the slower miles was a lot easier. Now, earlier in the race, it was the other way around, but there's still an awareness of that, and that it was still a decision of how much I pushed and how much I pulled. So I think what it gave me, it wasn't rigidity. I wasn't like, oh, I've got to do this. It was a case of making micro decisions the whole way through the race based on how the feedback of how I felt was. And I think this really, really helped me stay engaged with my run the whole time and feeling control of my run, which I think was what I didn't feel like in Berlin. The other factor was fueling has always been a challenge of mine. Basically, I don't like eating when I run. I never have done. I've become a great fan of Martin gels, Martin. The main reason is they're probably the opposite of what a lot of people would like. They say they want something to pick them up, to make them feel great. I want something, if you could inject something into me pre-race and it gave me enough fuel to last the whole of a marathon, I'd be happy. I couldn't care about taking anything. And the Martin gels fall into that category. They don't really taste of anything. It's like, do you remember that in the Matrix film where they just brought Neo out of the Matrix and they're eating this gloop and then they go, it's got all the nutrients you need. And the whole point of the thing is like, but it's not very exciting. I always watched that thinking, perfect. Because as far as I'm concerned, if you gave me all the perfect nutrients I needed to do a thing, then job done. And I really found the Martin gels work well. I've taken them about once every 40 minutes, had no stomach issues at all. And I didn't get a lift. I didn't feel, oh my goodness, these feel fantastic. But I just felt strong the whole way through. I didn't get any real dip until I got to about mile 23. And I was happy with that. You know, I expect to be getting pretty tired by 3 miles before the finish of a marathon. So I was good. And that gave me confidence and gave me kind of the control of my running. So I think these were big things. Now, the last thing I want to come to is a little bit more esoteric, but it's something that I was thinking about and something that's come up in my runners I coach. And also it's something I was talking indirectly with another runner that didn't have, with my club, that didn't have the run he wanted from this. And he was sort of saying this whole training block he hadn't enjoyed it. I mean, he's really reevaluating, you know, how he runs because he just enjoy it. And it got me thinking about running in general. It's obviously hard, and all of us are amateur runners. And it's this thing about working with our egos. Now, I don't want to get too kind of psychological, but we all have egos, whatever, you know, psychologists call them. We've all got these drives, and we see ourselves as individuals. And this is the ego. And it's that balance between getting, in running terms, that PB and enjoyment. And I really ran this with the viewpoint, not I'll be happy when. So it wasn't a case, I will be happy when I get my PB. It was more, I'm happy now and I will be happy when I get the PB or if I get the PB. So I ran completely free of that issue. Now, when I finished the run and I was 3 minutes short, 4 minutes short of my PB, there was people around me that, oh, what a shame. Well, and I understand that, but I didn't feel like that. And I think it's really something that runners, particularly older runners, need to really reconcile if they're going to enjoy their running as they get older, because one, PBs may not come along so regularly. And then if it's all about the PB, where's the fun in the running? And this really resonated with me with this runner I was talking to. You know, he's an excellent runner. He's a kind of, you know, very nearly a sub 3 hour runner. And it's obviously driven by PBs. And I'm not knocking that. So am I. I love PBs. I want to go under 324. And one day I'd like to do 315. And that's at 58. I've got as a bigger ego as anybody else. But how do you manage that ego so that you've got the drive, the momentum to head towards those goals, but you're also at the same time paradoxically comfortable with the reality that either you may never reach those goals or actually working really hard and you may never reach those goals and enjoying the journey as you go along. And this is where I really felt I was this time versus where I was in Berlin. Berlin was all about the PB. I ran selfishly. And what I mean by that, I ran, you know, it was just about me, it's just about the PB. Now, running is selfish. I can't say I ran the Brighton Marathon thinking of everybody else. My point being is that I ran to perform my best on the day. If it had happened to be a PB, then that would have been great. Am I happy with 328? I'm thrilled. That's the second fastest marathon I've ever run. And the last time I ran that fast, I was 47 and now I'm 58. So I'm pleased with that and I feel I should be. However, what pleased me was the control of the whole run and the enjoyment I got from the run and the fact that I was seeing other people on the run and I could converse with them. And I wasn't in this hellhole of grim determination the whole time. I was focused. I was ready in a good place. And to finish the video, it's something I'm learning really when I'm working with my runners is about how much race strategy do you give people? And I'm not sure, and I've never been really that comfortable with it because with a marathon, at least, so much can change on the day. You don't want that rigidity. You want a structure for freedom in the respect that you want something that you've got some sort of framework to work on, but not something that is too rigid because things can change. The weather can change. The conditions can change. You can suddenly find yourself in the last 10K facing a 35-mile-hour wind. I've had that before when you've run 20 miles and that literally saps the whole energy you thought you had. So you've got to be adaptable. But I think, not particularly the way I did it. I'm not saying that. I said, but some sort of race day strategy where, like I had, where it brought you back to yourself in the respect, it brought you back to asking the question, but only in the best possible way. How am I feeling? How am I doing? Am I going too fast? Am I going too slow? A few times I can remember saying, picking up the pace and say, look, Lee, we all know you can run 7 miles quickly. That's not the issue here. It's how you turn up at that 20-mile point. As someone said once, there's lots of sayings along this line, but marathons are just basically long runs with a 10K tax on the end. And in a way, that's true. I've done many an 18, 20-mile run in training. I feel fairly comfortable when I finish. And you've almost got to be able to arrive at that point in reasonable shape. Now, allowing for any kind of things out of your control, the way that you will do that is by not going off too fast, perhaps starting 15 seconds or so slower than your target pace, get into your race pace, get into your race head, leave your ego behind, that paradoxical thing about having the drive for the goal, but enabling yourself to let go of it at the same time, which I know is really difficult, relaxes your body, relaxes your thinking, and means that you'll more than likely get nearer to it than if you run like, some demented person hanging on for grim death to get it. The more you chase it, the more it moves away from you in a way. And that gives you the confidence to control your run and arrive in that last 10K in the best or the nearest to the best possible way you should feel. And of course, fueling effectively with what works for you means that you don't bulk, which, we all know, I know, but I've done it. I've done it where I just haven't taken in enough and bulked. So that would be my take from my Brighton experience, but it's not really the Brighton experience. It's a combination of the Brighton experience really learning from Berlin. And I just want to finish by saying, if you have a race over the next, whenever you're watching this video and it doesn't go right, you have a choice to either utilize that experience and just internalize it totally negatively. And straight after the race, I totally accept that's how you're going to feel. But in time, or you can look at it and go, what can I learn from this? How can I turn this around or adapt it so that next time I do this, this won't be the case? And believe you me, when I did Berlin, I was so disappointed and it stayed with me for months and months and months. But it was very much the blueprint based off this run, which gave me a much better result, a much better experience. and a much better recovery. I'm taking this video now to you, day after the run. I generally feel great. I've got a little blister on my toe that I ran in the endorphin speeds. I hadn't done a lot of distance in them. They were brilliant on the day, but they're a lot more narrower shoe than I'm used to wearing. So I've got a little blister. But apart from that, I feel great. And I think that's a lot to do with how I ran yesterday. So I hope you enjoyed the video. Hope you got anything from it. If there's any questions or thoughts, put them in the comments. I do try most times to reply because I love interacting with other runners. Have a great week. Have a great race if you got one coming up really soon. And I'll see you really soon. Bye for now.